Oh, God. It's happening, isn't it? It's really happening. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So there's been some absolutely massive news that got dropped yesterday or today. I've only just seen it today, so I've only just started looking at it, and it's blowing my mind. I can't believe this has happened. I am equally as excited as I am terrified about this. Because I'm such a huge Lord of the Rings fan, this is really, really interesting and really, really exciting to me, but I'm really scared at the same time. Basically, Embracer Group, which is a company that owns tons of different properties, mainly games that I'm aware of. They own a lot of really, really cool games as well. Some good games are included in there. But the Embracer Group has basically bought the rights for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I've heard that that includes the Silmarillion as well. I'm not 100% sure on that. The Silmarillion is one of the other books by J.R. Tolkien, based in Middle-earth, if you didn't know. But yeah, they've definitely bought the rights for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And that's not like they've just bought like a couple of things that they can do with it. No, they can literally make movies, they can make games, they can make theme parks, merchandise. There is so much stuff now that Embracer Group has got freedom to do with Lord of the Rings IP and the Hobbit IP. Like, it's crazy. I didn't even think that anyone would be able to do that. The thing where I'm confused with here, which I'm going to go into and we'll understand it a bit more when I read through some of this, I don't understand exactly what it means fully because they haven't bought the rights from the Tolkien estate. I think they bought it from something called Middle-earth Enterprises, right? So I don't know what that is. We're going to understand a little bit more in a moment. Either way, they've bought the rights for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit for, I think, around about $750 million, which is crazy. But it's probably one of the best business moves you could ever make, because if you buy these properties and then you're allowed to do whatever you want from them, you're going to make so much more money than that by creating content and things for Lord of the Rings. So it's insane. So before we go into these articles, I'm just going to explain two things. Why I'm excited and why I'm absolutely fucking terrified about this as well. I'm excited because as a Lord of the Rings fan, that means we're going to get tons of more Lord of the Rings things, like games, which I would love more Lord of the Rings games. Back in like 2000, I can't remember what year it was, but when PlayStation 2 was a thing, when I think it was PlayStation 2, after the movies, the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out, then they created the games that followed on from that, and there was a game, the Two Towers. It was an amazing game. That was an amazing game. And I remember the Lord of the Rings games that followed on from the movies back then were so good. Like, you were in big battles and it was like following like the actual characters in their minds of Moria and like having all these big battles with trolls and playing out how it did in their movies. It was proper sick. And I loved that. And we haven't had anything like that since. We've had Shadow of Mordor and the sequel from that. I can't remember the name. I played both of them as well. I really did enjoy them. I never completed them because they got a little bit too repetitive. It was the same thing over and over again. But I still really did enjoy it. So, you know, I'm excited for more games. Now, I'm definitely, as a fan, up for seeing more movies. I'm up for seeing more TV shows, especially if this is done right, the Amazon Lord of the Rings series. But here's the thing. The Amazon Lord of the Rings is nothing to do with this. It's separate. So the Amazon Lord of the Rings series could be amazing or it could be absolutely shit. We don't know yet. It kind of looks like it could be really good, but there's a lot of reason behind as to why you could think it'd be shit as well. I am worried about Lord of the Rings series on Amazon anyway. But if that's shit, that means that the Embracer Group can just do their own series and possibly nail it. Who knows? But they can do that. So it is exciting times for Lord of the Rings fans. But why I'm scared is because they could completely mess this and they could just take complete advantage of this situation and just milk it for everything it's worth and just completely destroy Tolkien's work. And that's what I'm worried about. I haven't read the books, so I'm not familiar with Tolkien's work as like how precise it is to the books when you see the movies or the shows. I don't know because I haven't read the books. All I know is Peter Jackson's trilogy, and for me, that is the all-time go of everything. It's my favorite thing ever made. Lord of the Rings trilogy is like perfection to me. There is nothing that's come close to it. For me, it's the best trilogy ever made, and for me, it's the best movies ever made. Nothing comes close to it at all for me. There's certain things I love just nearly as much Actually, no, I don't think there is. Like the Matrix trilogy, fucking love that. It's one of my favourite things ever. I love Avatar. These things are epic to me, but they still don't scratch the surface on how good Lord of the Rings is. But Peter Jackson created Middle-earth perfect in my eyes. For what Middle-earth is that I understand, the tone and the vibe that Peter Jackson created in his films for Middle-earth is like perfect. It's dark, it's gritty, it's magical, it's like so good. Every sort of element that he put in there, the characters are amazing. The story obviously is Tolkien's story, and it's just an incredible story. The characters and what they have to go through, the journey is just, it's a fascinating story, and I love it more than anything. And Peter Jackson, to me, just did it perfectly. So, because of that, there's a certain bar that's been set through the first trilogy of Lord of the Rings that everybody's really going to have to try and follow or reach. To be able to do that is probably impossible, but you know, like, who knows? Maybe someone one day will be able to create something that's equally as good as on par, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what their following series is like. And yeah, but this is going to be a hard thing for people to follow. So, this is what scares me with anything to do with Lord of the Rings that somebody else is creating other than Peter Jackson's, because they could completely get it wrong. And if this company now, the Embracer Group, start to do loads of shit like TV series and movies, and they get it wrong, it's just going to ruin the whole IP of Lord of the Rings. It's just, I just don't want it to be messed with. I don't want it to be messed with. It's a special thing for me that's just placed in the sky, and I want it to stay there, and I don't want anything to mess with it. Like Star Wars. Star Wars has been completely fucked with, and, you know, it annoys me, but I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. Huge Star Wars fans are devastated. I just don't want that for Lord of the Rings. So yeah, so there's some exciting parts, but there's some terrifying parts as well. So let's get into some of these articles. I'm not going to read through all of it. I'm just going to pick out certain bits that, you know, I want to highlight. So there's an article here from The Verge. Okay, so here's an article from The Verge, and it says, here's what Embracer Group can and can't do with Lord of the Rings. Okay, so does Embracer Group own Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit? Short answer, no. Long answer, no. Okay, well that's interesting. To be clear, the book publishing rights still belong to Tolkien family, as does anything else to do with the Silmarillion and Tolkien's other posthumously published work. I don't even know if I've said that right, but I don't even think I've ever seen that word before. Anyway, Warner Brothers also retained some feature-length production rights as part of the license it obtained from Middle-earth Enterprises back when it was known as Tolkien Enterprises. Okay. In the late 1990s. That's how we got Peter Jackson's movies, and that's how we're getting Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim animated feature due in 2024. Now, this one looks sick. The War of Rohirrim looks absolutely sick. Rohirrim, sorry. This looks really, really good if you haven't seen the trailers or anything, or any of the features yet. Definitely check that out. Anyway, Warner Bros., as a part of its licensing deal, likely has to keep producing Lord of the Rings media lest they risk the rights of returning to its original owners. Amazon's The Lord of the Rings Power TV show also skirts around this deal, with having it come to an agreement directly with the Tolkien estate. Okay, so that's interesting because I didn't realize it works like that, where they're saying basically they sell the rights to someone, and if that company doesn't keep producing the media for whatever company it is that they've bought or the IP or whatever, then the previous company will take the rights back. That's part of the deal. I mean, it makes sense because obviously if you're gonna buy a product from someone who's already creating content and media for that product, they're going to want you to continue that. So yeah, that makes sense. I just didn't realize that. But then it also continues to say, so what Lord of the Rings properties does Embracer own? Middle-earth Enterprises, according to its website, owns exclusive worldwide rights to motion picture, merchandising, stage, and other rights in certain literary works of J.R.R. Tolkien, including The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. This means that Embracer can pick from any of its 120 game studios and say, make an Éomer horse adventure game, and that'd be perfectly fine as long as it was book Éomer and not Carl Urban's Éomer. So yeah, basically that means that Embracer Group can do anything they want. It even says here they can do anything they want from motion picture, merchandising, stage, and other rights in the other works of Tolkien. And they can basically say to any of their game studios, you can make a game about anything you want, but it can't be to do with, like, you know, Viggo Mortensen's Aragorn. You could make it based on Tolkien's Aragorn, but not from, you know, Peter Jackson's Aragorn. Which, I get it. I just wish that they could. Imagine having, like, an Aragorn sort of, like, Origins game, and you actually play as Viggo Mortensen playing Aragorn. And you get him to voice act it and everything. Fuck. Ah! That would blow my mind. That would be so good. But you can't. So that's, you know, it makes sense. That's why game companies, when they recreate certain things like Marvel's Avengers, they don't actually have the actors playing it because they just don't have the rights to that. I get it. But yeah, they can basically do anything they want, which is mad. But then it continues here and says, Embracer has made it clear that it's going to exploit the hell out of its new Precious. That was my little Gollum impression there for you. In the press release, Embracer said, other opportunities include exploring additional movies based on iconic characters such as Gandalf, Aragorn, Gollum, Galadriel, and Éowyn, and any other characters from the literary works of J.R.R. Tolkien, and continuing to provide new opportunities for fans to explore this fictive world through merchandising and any other experiences. So yeah, they're going to exploit the hell out of it. That's the thing that I'm worried about. Oh, God. It's happening, isn't it? It's really happening. So, yeah, like I said, here, they're going to do movies, possibly about Gandalf, Aragorn, Gollum, Galadriel, Éowyn. You know, they could do it about anyone, really. And that's exciting, but I'm also scared. I mean, if we got a Gandalf story that was set before The Hobbit, and we got to see what he did throughout of his life for the 1,000 years that he lives for or whatever, that would be really, really cool. Done right, it would be amazing. Get Peter Jackson to do it. No one else. Just get Peter Jackson to do it. Just get him to do everything. A lot of you might disagree with that, but for me, I think Peter Jackson has smashed it. I know the Hobbits aren't received as well, but I still think they're better than everything. The Hobbits are so sick. Like, I don't know why people don't like the Hobbits. I don't like the Hobbits for the fact that they didn't use proper practical effects as much like they did with the Lord of the Rings, and it's mainly CGI. That's what I don't like, but they're still epic films, regardless. So anyway, it would be cool if we got to see, you know, origin stories of Gandalf or Aragorn, and what happens with Aragorn, you know, before, when he was Strider. You know, what he was doing there. And there's loads of things, stories we can be told. Gollum, before he gets the ring, or when he gets the ring and he starts to become possessed by it. There's a lot of really interesting stories to be told. Done right, it'll be amazing. But, you know, like, in the majority of times when people try and do this, it never works out. It just doesn't work out. They don't seem to understand it. They don't seem to understand it so well. Peter Jackson clearly was such a lover of the books. He read the books so much, and he was such a fan that he nailed it because he understood it down to a T, to every fine detail. And that's why it was portrayed so well. But then you get people like now with the fucking Halo series. Like, who are the people behind writing that? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's shit. It's proper shit. It's devastating as a Halo fan because they've ruined it. So this is the thing that I'm worried about. And I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with this? It could be amazing. It also could be an absolute shambles. And, yeah, only time will tell. So, guys, let me know down in the comments, what are your thoughts on this? Like, what do you actually think about this? Do you think it's amazing? Are you scared? Do you not give a shit? Or do you think it's an absolute disaster ready to happen? Like, tell me what you think. I honestly want to know what you think down below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please drop me a like. That'd be amazing for me. And if you are new here, hit the subscribe button if you want to stay updated with my videos. And once again, thank you so much for watching, guys. And I'll see you next time on wAFFwORLD.